Friday evening to you all out there, and welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Nick Carnes over here. Brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. Use our promo code Barking Browns to get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek if you have the inkling to still give a shit, and I think you do. That's why you're here.
Right.
But do you hear that? Do you? What's up?
Whoa!
For those of you that don't know, Casey has been affected. Casey has been affected. Been without power since Friday. They're saying, are they still saying another till Friday?
Yeah. It was supposed to be Monday originally, then they moved those goalposts. But there was 1.2 million people in my region without power. We're down to 375,000. I'm one of the lucky 375,000.
Jeez.
But in all honesty, man, there are people that have it much worse than me. Houses were obliterated. Things are underwater, Yeah. People lost lives. So just me living on the little house in the prairie life for a few days is a small price.
So you still got you still good. Everybody's comment. I know people are talking about you being safe and everything. They're glad to see it. I know they talked about it on the OBR stuff over the weekend. Just that people were concerned. So overall, everything's going relatively well. Just in the dark.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, man. This brings out the worst in humanity. I just now made a Grand Theft Auto 5 run to get ice and dog food. And people, God help you if you need gas right now. Tensions are high. I'll say that.
It's that type of situation. Okay. Well, hey man, that's why you're Apocalypse Case. You are a man blazing his own trail.
Yeah, man, fearless. I have the upper hand on these people because I get up so early in the morning, just because of the nature of my work, that I can actually get things really early in the morning. But just now I had to get ice and dog food, and this was prime get stabbed for those kind of things time. So I made it out unscathed. So that's a success.
Okay.
So, well, I know we don't have you for very long, but so since we do have you as you're driving, I'll let you.
Yeah, by the time I get back to my house, I'll have none of these internet trappings.
Right.
I'll be breaking up now.
Oh, are you?
It still seems okay.
If you guys can hear me, fire away.
Yeah. We can hear you. We can hear you perfectly right now. So I'll tee it up to you, man. Get some takeaways for just some thoughts after consuming the Raiders game.
Oh man, it's honestly, man, this offense is what this offense is. I'm actually disappointed in the defense. They had so many opportunities just to win that game. To 3rd and 9 and you give up a draw. How many reverses and jet sweeps? Here's certain things are just disappointing to me. This offense it's more disappointing than I thought it was going to be, but it is what it is, man. They're going to give you 2 scoring drives a game, and I just don't know if it's ever going to be enough, man. So this defense needs to do a lot more heavy lifting if they're going to scrape together some W's while the offense figures it out.
So where do you sit? I talked to you a little bit earlier today. Just some love coming from Drew and MC and Brian and everybody in the chat. I just wanted to, because I know you can't see it as you're driving, but goodness. Oh yeah. So I talked to you a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie, I heard 0% of that question.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I was really more just.
Give me 30 seconds, and I might drive back towards reception a little bit here.
Okay. That's.
Yeah. He's work. You know what? That's the apocalypse life, man. The only place I've ever really experienced.
All right, try it again.
So I talked to you a little bit about
the robots.
I talked to you just a little bit about this earlier today. Do you feel that the guys that are they are potentially getting back Nick Chubb, David Njoku in the offensive tackles.
Are you doing this to me on purpose?
I am not doing anything. I promise you I'm talking normally.
I almost had you.
Almost.
We're going. Try it again. One time.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Sorry, guys.
That's
I
all
hear
right,
you
brother.
right this second. I don't know if that'll mean I hear you in 10 seconds.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay.
I think what Jacob's asking is, are you feeling optimistic for the guys returning, about the guys returning?
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, you definitely have some quality football players on their way to, but I don't know how much of a boost that's going to give you ultimately. We don't know what Nick is. I know Nick's going to give everything he has. Is that enough? You know, I wouldn't vote. I would never bet against Nick Chubb. I think that'd be foolish. You know, David looked pretty good on the clips we saw of him moving on the field. They held him out an extra week. Hopefully that's enough to get him over the hump. I'm not optimistic about these tackles playing and then it making so much of a difference. I think it's unrealistic. I just don't think they're that good. I think as a whole, this offensive line, it's finally come to roost. Like they've been regressing slowly every year since 2020. That was their peak. The interior took a little while longer to start regressing, but now I think we're seeing, you know, a diminished version of what was once a great unit. So I don't know that the tackles will make so much of a difference, but I feel good about Njoku. I feel good about Chubb.
So even if you're not high on the tackles, you don't think they're an upgrade over what you've got?
Yeah, but what's that? So you're going to go from an F to a D?
Fair. Okay. Yeah.
I can't get too pumped about getting a D.
That's
yeah. All of a sudden, it's looking like that group needs an overhaul. Right, yeah. like you're back to literally 2020 before they signed Jack Conklin in 2020, right? That's when they really started putting these pieces together and made that unit. And now all of a sudden you're saying, we gotta get back to you drafted Zach Zinner, right? But honestly, like that's the only one. No, Helene's not breaking Casey,
but the Browns did.
Hey, man. It's very quickly reached that point of the year, and we're only 4 weeks in, but it's very quickly reached that point of the year where you look at the Browns gears, you put it on, and you're like,
I'm wearing Guardians gear, baby.
I wore it around, and you can tell there's some people that want to talk about it, and I'm going place to place, and it's just exasperated sighs and
yeah.
And go guards. That's what I've been getting today.
Yeah.
I can say earlier when I talked to Casey before I knew he was going to be able to at least squeeze a little bit of us into his schedule just with everything that's going on. I told him, I said, with you out tonight, like you're not going to be able to. This is what I thought was going to happen. I'm very shocked that this didn't. I thought that I was going to be leading the charge of a very optimistic podcast between you and I, Nick, and that Casey wasn't going to be able to reel us in. And, well, that's just not been what's happened so far.
I'm trying. Hey, I yelled yesterday, and I tried to find some better reasons for hope today. That's kind of the gist.
Now, and there are reasons for hope. There's reasons to be optimistic. It's a long season. And it's just, it's the way that it ends. You have multiple opportunities to go win the game yet again, and you just fail to do it. It's very deflating. It's right there to be taken. These are the games you have to win, too. These aren't good teams. Like the Giants and the Raiders, they're not very good.
Right.
So to lose, it is deflating, but it's hard to remember, you're going to go again in 7 days. And eventually they're going to win one of these improbable ones because right now the Commanders have a ton of momentum behind them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Off their past 2 performances, they've punted 1 time in 3 weeks.
That's nuts.
They're going home too. Both those games are on the road. Now they're going home. So this will be the exact game that the Browns win. The one they shouldn't. They have no reason to.
Yeah, I feel like they won't just let us off the hook, right? Because if you go to 1-4,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're Jacob's doing mock drafts. You're doing mock drafts.
I'm doing mock drafts anyway.
I know, but
This
you know
is
what I'm
great
saying.
for business if you're Jacob.
Oh, dude, I think I was talking to my dad earlier. I said something to him about it, and I said, "Well, this is I'm fine. Like if this is what it is, I will." I wrote an article about quarterback prospects last week that just slayed. Like it was being read for 3 days, and I was just I was like, all right, here we are. This is my time to shine.
Listen,
Either way, I'm in good. Either they start playing well and they win, and I'm happy, or my draft stuff takes off. Either way, I'm good.
If we got to get into sexy high pick land, like that's a place we've been before. I know that place. I'll get excited about April. I'll live and die on every minute until then.
Currently you're picking 5.
I don't like it.
That's sexy.
I don't like that. I don't like picking 5.
I have so many thoughts about picking 5. And
hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. That is truly, if you're up there in that range, that is truly when the off season is the longest experience it could possibly be, because it's so exciting to be up there.
I'm gonna say this. We've gone completely off the rails, and that's okay.
My bad.
Okay, man.
No. That's what we do here, and I love it. So I had this thought in the midst of it sucking on Sunday. So this was before, because they made a valiant effort there towards the end. They get the scoop and score. They make it a 1 possession game. They drive down the field. The Nick Harris that snap, I think. I'm not even talking about the holding call that I thought was a load of shit, but compared to what I've seen people do to Myles Garrett and not get a flag, that was a load of shit in my opinion. But the snap really, I think, killed the momentum, because they were down there at practically the 10-yard line. Now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 16.
Yep.
But before that, I had a thought in the midst of this all. If this continues, if you pick near the top 10, I think they clean house. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm not saying that, because I'm a big Kevin Stefanski guy. I like what Andrew Berry's done. There's been some things that have been neglected and that are now catching up to them. The offensive line is one of them, at least at the tackle position, because I think I like Zach Zinter. I like Zach Zinter quite a bit, but that's just one guard. Not really sure you've got a ton at the other 2 interior positions, which have been bad as well. But but overall, I like those guys. But if it goes like this, I don't know how you walk away from it.
You don't. Casey, I know we have you for a limited time, but I just want to say this. I made a video about it. You had the most resources. You started this build in 2016. You had more draft picks, more cap space, more resources and capital, and you spend the most money in the sport, and you are 1-3 and losing to abominations of teams that have nowhere near what you have invested. You can't fail like this. You can't.
You still haven't scored 20 points.
You still haven't scored 20 points. The quarterback that you traded 6 picks for still hasn't thrown for 300 yards. That is not something you're walking away from. I know he was the best player on the field for the Browns on Sunday. I'm not saying he wasn't, but the brass tacks of it is that you have led this ship to 1-3, spending the most money in the damn sport, and you look terrible. You're not walking away from it if it goes this way. You're not. That's it. I don't care that they just got extensions. You're not.
I don't think it'd be a full clean house, but here's the thing: like we're talking, if they literally pick within the top 5, that is such a nosedive of a season that nothing is off the table. But I think they're going to win more games than that. They're just going to, and it doesn't. I know it's hard to imagine it now. I said this weeks ago. It's hard to imagine that at one point this season we're going to watch this offense score 30-some points. Right now, that seems like fantasy land because they can't get over 18. You know what I mean? But I think the more realistic scenario is, and Nick touched on it, this was one of Deshaun's better performances, and it wasn't near enough.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
One of his best performances, but he does not elevate those around him. Even in his best moments, like in my mind, I look the last 2 weeks. You've handed the ball to him 5 different times with opportunities to go win the damn game. All 5, you come up empty-handed.
Correct.
I think if this doesn't take off, he's gone after this year. And I know people will be like, but the money. Dude, at some point, Jimmy's been in business long enough to realize that something is a poor investment. And had the Broncos not done what they did with Russell, this would be unprecedented. This won't be unprecedented. You'll eat similar money to what they ate, but they had to get out from underneath of it, So I think if it goes bad, that'll happen. And then Jimmy will be forced to take a pound of flesh from the front office or the coaching staff. Because if not, it's just going to look like his dumb decision. But if he fires someone, it automatically gets transferred to them. Now, that could be Andrew. That could be Kevin. I just don't think, unless it's Podesta, I don't think it's a clean house, but I think that there'll be some reshuffling of the deck if this continues to end in a nosedive. Now, what would it take to not be that? Like 8 wins?
I think it's 9.
Right? I think if you're under 500, I think this qualifies. But if you're under 5, they could still be picking like 17 if they finish with 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah.
So it's not the same overall optic, but this was for me. This was more than playoff or bust. This was you go win the damn division.
Agreed.
And that's where I think everybody had it when you look at the talent on the roster, and it's just like, I know there was roster concerns, but it wasn't this kind of concerns.
Nope.
Like it's just the players. Like there are some players you took chances on, right? Like you took a chance on relying on 2 tackles that were coming off of knee surgery, and that those chances just they haven't worked out, and that's been a part of the problem. But like Amari Cooper's not a guy you took a chance on. That's a guy that produces, and outside of one game, he's been dog shit. Like Martin Emerson was being regarded as one of those guys, and he's been shit. And like, I think your defensive tackles haven't been very good. They're a little banged up. But
they look old, man. That's my opinion. They look old. You have filled that position with veterans, and you have not been able to draft any defensive tackles with longevity, and suddenly you look old.
Yeah, and the Surge has a good point here. It's like it's so dumb now to depend on the injured tackles. We never really talked about it. We just assumed they'd be okay because we were told they were. I mean, Jack Conklin came out and told us that, and it was like, so I understand though those moves where you kind of took chances on some things, but you weren't taking a chance on Amari Cooper. You weren't taking a chance on Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Ethan Posick, and I think Teller's been fine. He's not. I'm not as concerned.
He was playing the best out of all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. But those are not guys you took chances on. Those are guys that have been those guys for you as recently as last year. And I know Bitonio had some injuries and stuff. We just assumed, he's going to get healthy. He'll bounce back, And I know the injuries like to David missing almost all of the season at this point. Yeah, that's a massive thing. But these guys that weren't chances, these guys that were proven, these guys that were supposed to continue to do what they have been doing, have fallen short, and you got to sit there and you got to say, is it because the roster was not constructed properly, or the coaches not getting the job done, or is it both? Because it's one of those 3, and it might be a combination of all 3.
Yeah.
And I think what's most egregious to me is Casey, you and Jacob and I have all talked about winning the division, and that being the bar for this year. And you look at where the division is right now, and you had a prime opportunity to really start out hot and be right there with Pittsburgh. Baltimore's getting right. I get that, but they're still 2-2, right? 2-2.
Yep.
And since he's 1-3, just like we are, you face the softest part of your schedule. And I understand week to week league, lots can happen, but this was your chance to seize the moment and like be right there with Pittsburgh and up there and say, we're competing for the AFC North, and it is just being squandered right now.
Yeah. The opportunity's still in front of them. I mean, the same rules apply that were last week. You have to win 2 out of 3 on this road trip. Well, you blew the layup. Now you got to go 2-0 to finish this road trip, get back to Cleveland, even up, 3-3. So it's still there in front of you. But even, I don't know, I keep seeing like a revisionist narrative, because the Browns didn't have first round picks. Well, they didn't have first round picks in 22 and 23, but walked away from the draft with first round talent.
Yeah.
And Emerson and Jones. Unfortunately, those two guys are off to bad starts this year. DeJuan's hurt. He's not moving the same. I believe Emerson might be as well. Something's off there. He's not playing aggressive like we're accustomed to seeing. And he got peeled off the field a few times earlier in the year, but he'd always come right back. So you go to assume he's healthy enough to play, but there's something keeping him from being him. I think there's a big misevaluation of who guys were. At this stage in his career, Joel Bitonio is still a fantastic run blocker.
Yeah, yes,
but he can't set and pass pro. It's, the tackles are an issue. Pocic has had crazy regression this year.
Yeah.
So you're really hurting up front. But offensive line play across the league's dog shit. This is everyone's problem. This isn't specific to us. Like, other teams are figuring out ways around it. Now it's incumbent upon this coaching staff to do the exact same thing. And you can't just be like, oh, he doesn't have time back there. Nobody has time who plays us, and they still get shit done.
Yep.
Daniel Jones didn't have time against us, still got shit done, found answers.
He was hitting the back of his drop and getting the ball out.
Oh.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to that. Your quarterback has to elevate players around him. It can't be like, oh, he played well, everyone else let him down. That's not an option, man. It's not an option. Go put on your cape. You're going to have to be something if you want to drag this team to where it needs to be.
Can I say this twice now? Deshaun's gotten sacked on 4th down. At least throw the ball. Give somebody a chance, man.
That's the thing. Everybody wants to talk about the screenshots and be like, well, no, that guy wasn't actually open or this and that. It's like, I don't give a shit.
You're dead on arrival if you take that sack. You're dead on arrival.
Throw the jump ball to Jordan Akins, at least.
You miss every shot you don't take.
Right. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Anyway, that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite. Nobody gets it, but that's one of my favorite references. Nobody ever gets it. Well, you got it, but because we're on the same wavelength.
Hell yeah.
We're about to devolve at the tail end of this show. I'm going to talk about video games, so it's where we're going. Yeah, you got to throw the damn ball up. And I thought Watson played really well. I really did. I wouldn't say really well. I thought he played good. I thought he was good for most of the game. You get rid of that. You get rid of that Amari Cooper drop. That's an interception, and you get rid of the holding call. It's a pretty good day.
Right.
But it just, in the end, you can't get rid of those things. Those things happen to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. You still had a 4th and 3 and you didn't even throw the ball. And I get it. You didn't have a lot of protection there. I get that. I'm not arguing that because that's what happened. I'm fully aware of what happened. And if your kicker doesn't miss an extra point, you're able to kick a field goal there and tie it and go to overtime.
Andy Dalton and the Panthers put up a 40 burger on this defense. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The defense gave you a scoop and score. The offense scored what? 9 points?
Yep.
10. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. I just don't. It has to be better.
Yeah. You need 4 scoring drives a game, man. You give 4 scoring drives, you're going to win games. And the defense, even though I'm disappointed, they only gave up 20 and they gave you 6.
Right.
They brought you back in it because, you were it was pretty gone. It was getting pretty ugly. It was getting pretty embarrassing. I know it was only 20-10, but it was like, oh, they're just going to keep moving the ball slowly on us, draining clock, kick it back to us. We'll do nothing, kick it back to them, and we'll lose 20-10. And then they were able to capitalize on a big moment that they were given. They scoop, they score. And you know what it reminded me of? The momentum that Greg Newsome's pick 6 against Baltimore last year.
Yeah.
You got all of that momentum back because you were down multiple scores and you scored, and it was 31-24, but we were running out of time, and then boom, another touchdown right there. Greg Newsome takes it to the house, and another mixed extra point on a defensive touchdown. But you were then able to drive down the field and score because you had that momentum and you win that game. And this situation, it was served right up on a silver platter for you to do the exact same thing. And defense got you right back into the game because not only did they get that scoop and score, they forced a punt right after that.
Right.
You get the ball, I don't remember I don't think it was a 3 and out, but it was quick. It was very quick. You had the ball again and you had multiple shots at it. And I get it, penalties, but this is the thing that I'm like, the thing that's really frustrating me right now is these little things that keep adding up. 23 missed tackles the last 2 weeks. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Penalties. They were much better in this game. Much better. But they had some critical penalties and critical errors, that bad snap from Nick Harris that causes the 2nd and 16 on that final drive.
Roughing the passer.
Stop hitting quarterbacks in the fucking head. I don't give a shit. Like somebody was like, what's he supposed to do? You want me to tell you something? Gardner Minshew is not 6'6" like Alex Wright. He had to be lower than him to hit him in the head. Alex Wright is bigger than him. Okay. Stop it. And everybody's like, what's a stupid rule? I don't care if it's a stupid rule.
Yeah.
Is the rule. And you know that. You know that touching the quarterback's head in any way, shape, or form is going to get you a flag. It is now twice negated. First, it was negating a turnover, and this time it was not a turnover, but it was a 4th down.
You were
getting the ball back. Stop doing these stupid things, missing tackles, bad penalties in crucial moments. Like all of the little things that you did right last year that you were able to overcome all the adversity. You've 180'd it. You've completely 180'd it. And it's like, they don't have an identity on offense. I think at times the defense, let me ask you a question. I brought this up earlier today when I was talking to my dad about it. Do you think some issues with the defense late in the game is because they know it doesn't matter if they get a stop because the offense isn't going to do dick? Is that wearing on them as games go?
I was saying that weeks ago, man. There's only so many times that you can give the ball back to the offense, them go 3 and out, and you're right back out there before you just stop believing. And it comes down to one player at that point because you have to believe that the guy who's leading your offense can go get shit done.
Yeah,
you have to believe that. And when you fail to believe that over time, man, that'll wear on you. The Browns defense, their lapses are always like 2 back-to-back drives, always like a small segment. It's been the end of first halves where things kind of unravel. And all of a sudden you let a team back in the game or you let a team kind of take the jump like the New York game. I'm just disappointed. I expected such a high level from those guys. I did. And there were some misevaluations of the roster and what would be needed to run this defense going into the season. Like Dalvin Tomlinson cannot come off the field. If he comes off the field, they can't stop the run. Teams will go right up the middle and there's nothing you can do. Miles is another one, and Miles is battling. But at the end of the day, when he's not on the field, man, they're susceptible, and I was hoping that these guys who were role players in years past would be enough to bolster you could give those kind of guys breathers, but they need their stars to ball out. And I think the meetings this week in practice, there has to be an emphasis on these guys who are bona fide studs. Man, you got to make plays. You got to carry this team. Like you got to go out there and earn your paycheck. And just think about what you have to deal with this week is a different breed of quarterback. There's not a lot of Jane Daniels running around this league right now.
I tried to tell everybody, but everybody's like, no.
Well, they're going to find out. Kid makes plays.
You're seeing it. You're seeing the frustration from the team. Both we saw it on the sideline and on the field with Deshaun and Deshaun. You see it in the media interviews with the team. I think Kevin Stefanski shows it. I think so to your question, Jacob, I think the whole team is frustrated, probably at each other in some parts, and you're just seeing it start to boil. man. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the direction that it's going. You got 2 more away games, right? And Casey, you have circled that date when they return home on the calendar since before then. Man, if they do not figure out how to win, because they're not going to be favored in either one of these games. They're already a dog this week. It is going to be a rough reception when they come back home. And that is, I think that is, we're nearing the tipping point. We're nearing the tipping point.
You fought a 1-4, pack it up.
Yep. I don't know how else to say it. I don't. They were they 1-4 with Jacoby Brissett? I don't even think they were.
No, they weren't, because they beat they obviously won the opener, and then they beat the Bengals early in the season
on Halloween.
Yeah. So no, you can't be 1-4. You just can't. And then I'm not ready to talk about the future, but I think that's man. So this is a must-win game. Then I mean, it has to be. It has to be declared must-win.
Yeah. You got to scratch and claw. You got to go back. You got to find a way to 5-4 at the bye in your first 9 games. You got to fight to get 5-4. So that means you got to rattle off 4-1 in the next 5 games.
Based on opponents' records remaining for the rest of the year, the Cleveland Browns have the toughest remaining schedule in the NFL.
Good.
Yeah.
They play down to the level of the opponent. Hopefully they play up.
Well, you either play up and you figure things out against real good competition, or you flush it all out and you flush it down the toilet. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to settle for mediocrity anymore. So if it continues to be mediocrity this year, flush it out.
Oh, and I'm not gonna make many friends saying this stuff, but I don't want you were talking about like having pick 17 if they win like 8 games. I don't want any of that shit. If you're gonna be bad, get up there into the high pick range, make it enticing for somebody to come in here and figure it out.
All right.
And have some resources. I'm not doing it. I refuse. I don't want 8 wins. You either be a winning team and go to the playoffs, or you be dog shit. The in between is no good for the future. No good.
According to Browns insider Mary Kay Cabot, the Browns will likely inquire about Davante Adams now that he has requested a trade, and possibly DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, but I don't see that being the problem.
I don't either.
I mean, it would help because Amari's been shit, but no, it's not.
Hold on. Let's back up the Amari thing.
Yeah.
If that holding call doesn't happen, we're not having this discussion.
Right.
He made up for his mistake, because it was egregious. Him giving away the ball on that interception, that sucks.
In field goal range.
Yeah, no, I can't sugarcoat it. But he also made the play that he had nothing to do with that holding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He got open and he turned upfield and he showed you he could still burn. Like, that safety had an angle on him. He couldn't get to him. I'm not really worried about Amari so much, man. I'm worried about the goddamn line. That's what I'm worried about. Because I think you have a substituted quarterback. If shit don't start clicking, you can switch to someone. But if you can't block, you can't block.
It's true.
Okay. So if they're interested in one of those veterans, like, is that in the same breath as like they would trade Amari Cooper? Because I saw those rumors.
I would assume so.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So they would trade Amari Cooper and then acquire a different vet, basically.
Theoretically, yeah. I'd be shocked if they were to try to make it work with both.
And both are older than Amari.
Yeah.
Yeah, Davante Adams. That's what I was looking at. Davante Adams is 31.
Yeah,
Hopkins is 32, right?
I think. Hold on. Yeah, he's 32.
You know what? The Browns have been doing this thing where they're plugging holes with veterans that are older, and I just think we are seeing the problem with that strategy as we currently sit.
that one day they're just going to be really old. That happened to me yesterday. I woke up and I was like, shit.
Yeah, dude.
Rap like I used to.
Well, gentlemen, this is it for me. I got to get this ice back before it melts, and I become an enemy of the state in the house.
Good luck, brother.
Casey, thanks for being here, man. Good luck.
Hey, man. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Love seeing your faces. I want to thank everyone who's reached out to me to check on me and my family, and we're safe. We're just living in the Stone Ages, which has been interesting to watch my girls because
I bet
this isn't something we've done art projects and yard work and just trying to stay busy. We had an indoor snowball fight with fake snowballs, like a Christmas time thing we broke out.
Cool.
It was the most fun we've had in a long time. So we're making the best of it.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully by this weekend I'm back up and running and you guys see me in my usual spot. So thanks for everyone reaching out. Love you guys.
Our brother.
Love you, Casey.
Okay. Yeah. So okay.
I'm resetting here. Resetting. Okay. Because I can just feel. You know what? I was trying to be optimistic today. I was like saying,
I actually woke up super optimistic.
It just
and then let me bring up the thing that I got a haircut today, but my hair is like kind of a mess after the haircut, so like it looks like just a little bit of poop here. It's like a poop stuff.
I love the way it curls.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't have any product in it. But look at there, boom, backwards hat. Colin Cowherd would be very upset with me right now.
Yeah.
Also, did you see Jared Goff's stat line last night?
Oh, I sure did. I watched that game.
It was a fun game. I went to bed in like the fourth quarter, but it was fun. I enjoyed that game before I went to bed. I thought it was having a good time.
18-18.
Yeah, I know. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown was 1 of 1.
That was awesome.
Did you know that he has? What is it? Did you see this stat? Hold on. I gotta find this. More touchdowns. I saw this. This was hilarious. Okay. Did you know that Jared Goff has more receiving touchdowns than Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, Brandon Ayuk, and Jalen Waddle combined?
That doesn't surprise me. Man,
those guys have no receiving touchdowns, and Goff has a receiving touchdown. That's a little nasty because one of those guys receives his passes from Jared Goff.
Right.
Just so we're clear, Sam Laporta is his tight end. So part of that is Jared Goff's fault. I love the Philly special. I love those helmets. I didn't think I did, but I do. I really.
It was neat. It was neat to see them in the helmets and the black uniforms. I enjoyed it. I think the Lions colors are kind of boring, and there's just I like them spicing it up.
Yeah, the Black Lion, I didn't think I liked it. The biggest issue is I don't like the alternate helmet from the Colts, and it's kind of the same color structure with the black and the blue, but because with the lion and the way that it is, and it's the blue helmet, but I like that. I like that. Also, I
wasn't going to bring it up, but
yeah, we're not going to bring that up. Also, for anybody that cares, now available to own on digital, Deadpool and Wolverine.
There you go.
Go out there and you can get that. I woke up optimistic because you can't argue that there is not a bunch of talent that could come back this week and in the coming weeks. The question becomes, is it too little too late? Casey weighed in on what he thinks about the tackles from an F to a D. He makes a great point. If you're only going from like an F to a D, it does in fact not mean as much. I tend to think if healthy, I think Jack Conklin's better than a D. I don't know that Jed is, but I still think it's an improvement. I guess is the biggest thing. Is like I think it is an improvement. But the things that I come back to is David Njoku and Nick Chubb. You talk, okay, and this is where I think you make or break your future with this organization if you're Kevin Stefanski. Casey talked about it. You talked about it. I've talked about it. he said it. I think Casey said it really well. When other teams face us, they don't have a lot of time to throw and they still get it done. Well, who are guys that Watson can lean on in those situations? Number one, it's David Njoku. Number two, it's Amari Cooper. And if Amari Cooper just plays better, more consistent, and Casey's right, that touchdown doesn't get called back. Amari's got an 82-yard touchdown, so 130 yards or whatever it was. But if Amari makes plays like he did against the Giants with David Njoku and a running assist from Nick Chubb, you can score points that way, I think. And so you've got to, if you're Kevin Stefanski, you got to take a long look in the mirror and you got to say, last year, it didn't matter what adversity was thrown my way. I was able to coach out of it. So why aren't you right now? You've got to be able to answer that question, because Jerry Jeudy's been really good, in my opinion. I like the stupid. Did you see that shit he said yesterday, though?
Yeah, about being tired.
Why would you admit that? Don't admit that. Don't add more fuel to the fire. I was like, my immediate reaction was, man, we're cooked. Like, as soon as he said that, I'm like, if this is the shit that's going on inside that building, and it could just be a one-off thing where Jerry was just tired with the loss and with all this stuff, and he was just kind of being kind of candid about it. It just doesn't seem like something you need to say. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm sure it's true about a lot of players.
Well,
but yeah, no, exactly, Serge. I'm with you. He's like, who admits they're out of shape? Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
that was my biggest issue. Was like, I don't care that it's true. Yeah, it's a problem that it's true. I care that you thought it was a good idea to say it.
I think, okay, so and you talked about, well, two things. Let me finish up on Amari Cooper, and then I want to get into the coaching staff. I tweeted today, because I am trying to be optimistic, that football is a game of inches. And I was talking about the holding call. But when you talk specifically about Amari Cooper, you are saying he is 2 drops and 1 holding call away from 3 more touchdowns for both himself and Deshaun. And I don't know. I would like to think that they're at least 2-2 at that point. So,
well, I mean, there's a good chance that they won on Sunday.
I agree.
The holding call, because you got to think that drop that turned into an interception, they were in field goal range.
Yeah.
That changes the outcome of that game.
Yeah. And then the touchdown, Jacob called me and wooed. There's nothing like a Jacob woo. He calls you, he woos. It's pure joy, emotion. He's wooing.
I thought it was I heard the penalty, and I swear to God, I didn't tell you this. I thought it was on the defense, and that they were saying it was half the distance to the goal on the extra point try. That's what I thought it was. That's why I kept going.
I was with my friend, and I picked him up in the air. We were celebrating, having a good time, and so yeah. So Amari, it's like that close to being like, if Deshaun has 3 more touchdown passes, the Browns are 2-2, and Amari has 3 touchdowns. Like, I know we have to play the what if game. I get that, because that's where we are right now. But so that I think that's why Amari is so frustrating, because you gave him a raise, you guaranteed his salary. I get it. His name was in trade rumors, and maybe that's why his head's not right. I don't know. But you still did right by the guy financially, and he is just not returning that investment to you. And so I just want to say, so when we start talking about, like, okay, if this thing goes down in flames, do you clean house? I have to look at the coaching staff and say, Jerry Jeudy's saying he's tired, and you are leading the league in missed tackles and drops, and you still can't line up right on offense, and you're just committing these stupid penalties. And it's like, a lot of that to me is on the preparation and on the coaching. And I look at, and I'm saying, maybe you're not, like, we didn't get to see a lot of camp this year, but maybe you're not practicing hard enough. Maybe you should have played your guys in the damn preseason. Man, like some teams can get away with that. Clearly the Browns are not one of them. So if Stefanski is here next year, I want to see these guys playing in preseason. The injuries be damned, because you cannot start the first month of the season looking sloppy as shit on both sides of the ball, and like you don't know what you're doing, and you can't figure out how to line up. You need these reps. Clearly you are a team that needs these reps, and the conditioning is bad. The way the injuries are being handled is bad. it's looked discombobulated since week one. And I fully admit Deshaun played his best game as this year on Sunday. I fully admit that. But everything around you is not going well enough. So I look at the preparation. And I say that is clearly lacking. What say you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it starts. I think that's where it starts, because let me ask you something about the offensive line. Is it really that much worse than last year?
I don't think so. I really don't.
I don't either, to the extent of there were a lot of games where they had to get the and I get the aspect that we talk about Deshaun Watson holds onto the ball a lot. Yeah, I understand those sorts of things, and maybe that's kind of what we're seeing. But like, you were down to street guys starting at both tackle position.
Sure were.
That's a great question. I'll answer that question in a second, but that's a very intriguing question, and I'll tell you why in a second. Well, the answer's Tua, but anyway.
The answer's Tua.
The answer's Tua. Even if we don't know if he'll be able to play again because of the concussion situation. I'm sorry. The question was, would you rather Deshaun or Tua for the rest of their career? And it's the answer to any question. I'm telling you right now, the answer to that question, Deshaun, or outside of it being like somebody like Will Levis, no offense, but like outside of it being Will Levis, the answer is always going to be the person that's not Deshaun.
Because keep in mind, we still have this next lawsuit with video, maybe, who knows, whatever, coming down the pipe at some point. I'm sure that's going to be a fun discussion topic. Like,
it's exhausting.
It's Tua.
Yeah, it's Tua. I just keep saying it. How many times you want? It's Tua. Here's the thing, MC. The line was still bad with Flacco. Like, there were still a lot of issues with Flacco. He just got rid of the damn ball. Yep. And that's what and so my thing is, like, it comes to the issue. I've always thought Kevin Stefanski was a good play caller. I don't care what anybody else thinks. This year, it has not been the case. And maybe that's just what Watson is doing with the plays being called. Like, because there are dudes open. I've watched the All-22. I've watched it. Dudes are open like they always are. But to me, it's like, why isn't he getting the ball out fast? Like, at a certain point, you're getting the shit knocked out of you so much. Why aren't you getting rid of the ball? Like, one thing I'll say about Watson on the field, he's tough as nails. I mean, the dude's taking a beating and he's still getting back up. And people are like, well, the offensive line, he's the most hit quarterback. I'm like, well, he's also holding on to it, creating a lot of these pressures. But in the end, my point is, you got to look at the coach as a coach. You've got to look at it and say, okay, what I'm doing right now is not working. What is it that I have to do? Because that's what you did last year. You said, what is it that I have to do? And you realized it was X, Y, and Z, and then you accomplished that. That's why, for me, I was like, going into this year, I was like, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have proven that if Watson doesn't work, they should still be around because they've shown they can do stuff with nothing, so to speak. Right. At quarterback. And so it's like, well, maybe we'll give him another chance to draft one if Watson doesn't. But that was kind of what I was going into. But then all of that stuff that they did last year, it's just not working out this way.
It's evaporating. Everything, like you mentioned it earlier.
It's an interesting thing. John says he holds onto the ball and doesn't trust his arm. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
And you look at that, and that's the biggest piece, right? Is that you sent all those picks for Deshaun, and he has yet to throw for 300 yards. Like, I can't bring back a GM who misses on a trade that bad and brings this baggage with it. Like, I just want to share a personal story real quick. Every year I go to an away game, and there's always been 12 of us. It's one of the biggest things that unite us. Everybody makes time for it. We're spread out across the country now. Two of my friends in that group live in Texas. One's in New York, and one is in Arizona. Anyway, we're all from here. We have 10 now. We have 10 now because two of them, when we decided to trade for Deshaun Watson, just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And that sucks. That sucks. and it's their choice, and they're still my friends. But it's like I have multiple examples in real life that of the fan base that you've lost over doing this, and
it hasn't even turned into wins.
And you haven't thrown for 300 yards. You haven't thrown for 300 yards. Like the whole idea was like this is going to be a rough phase, but we're going to compete for the playoffs and Super Bowls and that's the whole idea. I know that's gross, but that's the whole idea, right? That's why he did it. And this dude, I think if it continues on this path, that Andrew Berry's just got to go down with that ship. And that sucks. That sucks, but I think he does. And I think you.
I think if you clear house, you clear house. I understand Casey's point, but I think if you clear house, you clear house.
I agree.
And so I'm not saying that's what I'm rooting for, but that it feels like if this continues, that then that's where it's going.
No, they're not assholes. They're honestly they just like they still play fantasy football, but neither of them have teams now, which is weird. They've been Browns fans their whole lives. It's just weird, man. It's weird. So, but yes, and I'd be interested. But to your optimistic point, you still do have. I just wonder what Nick Chubb's going to be, man. Because I put that out today, and I'm just like thinking about it, and I'm like, we saw what Nick Chubb was lifting. They said he looked good at camp. What if he just comes back and he just surprises everyone? What if he does? That's where I'm at, because I posted that clip. I posted the clip from the Ravens game during the Freddie Kitchens year, and people were like, "Why are you posting such a clip from 2019?" And the reason I did that is because Nick Chubb finished second in the league in rushing that year. Your offensive line was not particularly good, and you had Freddie Kitchens drawing plays in the dirt. And Nick Chubb finished second in the league in rushing that year. If there's anybody that can figure out how to make this salvageable, it's Nick Chubb to me. And that's not fair. It's not fair to ask him coming off of a second giant knee injury, but that's where we are. We need to be saved by Nick Chubb, and I think he could be up to the task.
I think that's a hell of a way to close it.
Man. I'm trying to continue being positive. I want to find ways. I just want Casey is right. You're right, Jacob. You just got to get back to 500. So let's see. I personally, just from my own Browns experience, I just don't think the Browns are going to let us off that easy. I think they're going to find a way to win one of these games that they're not supposed to, and then suddenly we're going to be talking about like what if they beat Washington, one of the hotter teams in football? What if they just beat them? I don't know.
If they beat them and score like 30 points, I will have no idea how to feel.
Right.
Like obviously I'll be elated, but I'll be like, man, what the fuck? You're like, I was so out and I was so okay with it and I had moved on and I was feeling all right. Yeah. And then you just had to pull me back in.
Right. And that's something very Browns to do. So let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it for better or for worse. We've been here. Let's keep being here. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. We're still pushing for that 1,000 subscribers, and we will give away a Browns jersey when we hit it. We're slowly creeping up. So the fact that so many of you are here through this that's just what being a Browns fan is all about. So thank you. It means a lot to us. Can't wait to see you again. This has been a venting session of the Barking Browns Show. And Nick, he's Jacob. And for Casey, go Browns.
Congrats.